Greetings, friend. I will show you an insider technique that will help you unlock this hard Sudoku. The strategy will not only solve both of the green cells, but will set you up for this red cell as well. Click below if you want to give this puzzle a go, and with that, it's solving time. Look at block 1. Let's see where a 1 can go. You have these two ones in rows 2 and 3. You have this one in column 2. Means 1 has to be right there. And then if you follow these two ones, you'll notice there's 2 places for a 1 in block 7. So what I just did is called Snyder notation. Anytime in a 3x3 block, you have 2 possibilities for candidate, mark it. And in case you solve one of these cells, we can solve the other one right away. Also get some clues on some more advanced strategies. If you look at these two ones, we have 2 places for a 1 in block 6. So we'll do Snyder ones in block 6. And then with these two ones, Snyder ones in block 8. Now let's look at the 2s. If you look here in block 1, where can a 2 go? Well, with these 2s, and now you have a 1 right there. There's only one place for a 2 in block 2. And then with these 2s, 2 possibilities for a 2 in block 2. And then with this 2 and this 2, there's only 2 possibilities for a 2 in block 3. And we'll look at block 6. You got these 2s. We'll mark those as well. I'm gaining information with every time I mark to see where the restrictions are in this puzzle. Welcome to Smart Hobbies. If you're new, subscribe, tap the bell if you want to turn your passing interest in Sudoku into a fun and enjoyable hobby. Let's look here in block 2. Where can a 3 go, right? You have these 2 3s in rows 1 and 3. That means we can solve for a 3 in block 2. Then let's look at the 4s. Because of these 2 4s, we got Snyder 4s in block 2. And then with these 2 4s, Snyder 4s in block 7. And there's something interesting to point out here. You'll notice that the 4s are restricted to columns 2 and 3 here in block 7. If you look up in block 1, the 4s are also restricted to columns 2 and 3. They got to be in one of these 4 squares. Okay? And since the 4s are restricted to columns 2 and 3 in both block 1 and block 7, that means a 4 has to be in block 4 in column 1. Because we have a 4 right there, 4s have to be right there. This is called a claiming pair, because since the 4s have to be in column 1 somewhere and there can only be in block 4, we can mark that. So a 4 cannot be anywhere in these spots anymore. I feature strategies like claiming pairs in my exclusive monthly reward packs. For a limited time, I'm offering all of my 2023 packs for free to new members, but you have to join the Smarty Party this month before they're gone. Join now by clicking on the pinned comment below. Let's look at the 6s. You have this 6 right here. It means the 6 can't be in these spots. So the 6 are restricted to these 2 cells in block 1. This is also called a pointing pair. And what that means is since the 6s are in the same column in block 1, and they have to be in one of these 2 spots, they can't be anywhere else along the column. So a 6 cannot be in these spots anymore. And because of these 2, this 6 right here, that means this and this 6, the 6s are now restricted to these 2 spots in block 4. And now we have something pretty cool here. Whenever you see Snyder marks on top of each other, so the 4s and the 2 6s are in the same spot, we have found what's called a hidden pair. Because the 4 and 6 have to be in the same 2 cells in the block, one of them has to be a 4, one has to be a 6. No other candidate can be there. So that's called a claiming pair. That's called a hidden pair, and we can get rid of all the other candidates for those 2 cells. So now the red cell has to be a 4 or a 6. Which one is it? We'll find out shortly. Let's keep looking for these 6s here, because you got these 2 6s. You have 6s in block 3, and then you'll notice you have 6 now limited to rows 2 and 3 in block 1. They're limited to rows 2 and 3 in block 3. And so the 6s can be in one of these 3 spots in block 2. So just like a claiming pair, this is actually a claiming triple. I'm not going to mark it because with Snyder notation, you get in the habit of solving one of the Snyder marks, you can solve the other right away. So if I solve one of these for 6 and remove the 6, I might be tempted to put another 6 there. I don't do that in my Sudoku solving. I just remember there's going to be 3 possibilities for 6 there. But we won't need that because you'll see shortly that we're going to be able to make some more solves to make this a little clearer. Because you have these 2 7s here and this 7 right there, we can actually solve this cell for a 7, which displaces our Snyder 6 and displaces our Snyder 2. And so now this is the beauty of Snyder notation. Anytime you solve, you can displace Snyder mark, you can solve another cell right away. So I could solve all those 2s, and since I displaced that Snyder 6, I can solve for 6 right there. And so now we know the 6s are in these 2 spots. They have to be in one of those 3 cells. Enthralling Sudoku is my Friday featured pack for January. This is Classic Sudoku 26. Thank you so much, Ashish Kumar, for letting me feature these puzzles on my channel. You can actually purchase Enthralling Sudoku. It has over 100 puzzles in it through the link in the description. All right, now let's look across here. You notice there's only 2 possibilities remaining, so I'm going to mark this as a 4-8 naked pair because those are the only 2 spots remaining there. And now let's look at the 5s. You'll notice that 5 can't be here. This 5s are a pointing pair, so 5s can't be in any of these spots down here. And let's go back to the 7s. Where else do we have restrictions with our 7s? Because of this 7 coming down, only 2 possibilities for 7 in block 4. And because of this 7 and this 7, only 2 possibilities for 7 in block 5. And now with these 2 7s, you can put Snyder 7s in block 9. There's a lot of restrictions with the 7s. I think they might come in handy here. Okay, let's look at the 8s. You got these 2 8s here. That's the only 2 places we can do Snyder 8s in this puzzle, but the normal marks. But what you might notice is that the 8s are limited to columns 8 and 9 in block 3, and now we know they're limited to columns 8 and 9 in block 9. So the 8s have to be in column 7 here in block 6. So we actually found another claiming pair. You want to mark this claiming pair and know that these can't be 8s. Okay, let's look at the 9s in block 1. You got these 2 9s here. We can actually solve this cell for a 9. And now all the Snyder marks are done. And we still haven't figured out the green cells. So let's see what could be in these cells here. You got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the column. And then you have a 6 and an 8 right here. So that has to be a 7 or a 9. And since the 8's already in the block, this is going to be a 6, 7, or a 9. Huh. So we've got to figure out, is this a 7 or a 9? Is this a 6, 7, or a 9? Since there's 7s in here, the next step you should do is you want to look for single candidate strategies. So these are strategies that involve one candidate. Let's look at the 7s. What are the possibilities for the 7s in this puzzle? All right, if we come down here, you notice you have 2 7s in the block, 2 7s in the block. The Snyder marks are very helpful there. 4 7s here. These can be 7s, of course, and these can be 7s. So we'll mark all that in blue. Now, what you might notice is that there's only 2 possibilities for 7 in row 5. This is called a conjugate pair. What that means is anytime you have 2 of a candidate in a row like this, or if you had just 2 candidates like this 4 6, this is also a conjugate pair within the block. So this cell is either a 4 or a 6. The 4 and 6 are conjugate pairs to each other within the cell. But here with the single candidate, the 7s are conjugate pairs. So either this is a 7 or that has to be a 7, right? You might notice is if you go down here into column 7, there's also a conjugate pair of 7s, and they share the same column as one of the conjugate pairs in row 5. So let's mark that with purple. So they share the same column, and then the tips, which I'll put in orange, are in the same 3 by 3 band. So this band, or called a tower, is columns 4, 5, and 6. All right, but they're in different columns here. So let's look here. If this cell could be a 7, right? If it's not a 7 because of the conjugate pair, this cell would have to be a 7. Then that means this would not be a 7. This cell would have to be a 7. So either this cell is a 7. If it's not, then this one has to be. So what we know, because of the way this is set up, that a 7 cannot be in any cell that sees both of these, right? This is called a skyscraper, and this is kind of a sideways skyscraper where they share the same column and they have different tips in the same 3-column band. And so now we know we can eliminate a 7 from any cell that sees both of these. Awesome. And so we can eliminate a 7 from this cell right here. And that's going to allow us to solve this cell for a 9. We can also eliminate a 7 from right there. This is beautiful stuff. And then, since we eliminated the 9 right there, we can eliminate a 9 and a 7 right here. We can solve this cell for a 6. So we can solve both the green cells for a 9 and a 6 because of the skyscraper and remove this mark. I call this an insider technique because you're not going to see this strategy come up in a New York Times Hard or any newspaper Sudoku. You'll need it in more advanced solving puzzles like this one. Learn more about skyscrapers in this tutorial. But what we can do now is make some more solving in column 5. And this will lead us over to this red cell. We know this now has to be your 7 because that can't be the 7 anymore. And this is going to be an 8. So let's remove all the blues. And we can remove all the oranges. And remove all the purples. And we can actually get rid of the 2 green cells as well because we solved those green cells. Now, how are we going to get ourselves over to this red cell? Well, first, we'll use these 2 7s. Just place that Snyder and solve this cell for a 7. Now, we have this 4, 6 right here. We have 7 digits accounted for. We need a 5 or a 9. Because of this 9, that has to be your 9 and that has to be your 5. Now look across row 8. We have a 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8. We need a 1, 3, or 7. I'm about to show you my neat naked triple trick. You notice how you have a 7 right here in column 3, and then you have the 7 repeated with a 3 here in column 7. Whenever you have this situation for 3 cells in a house where 2 of the 3 missing candidates are in one column and another one's repeated, you can solve all 3 of these because you know this cell has to be the 1. This has to be the only place a 7 can be, and this cell is going to be your 3. That's my neat, naked, triple trick. And now by doing that, we displace that Snyder 1, displacing that Snyder 4, and we can solve this cell for a 7. We can get rid of the 7 mark right there, and we're well on our way to solving more of this puzzle. Because of this 4, we know that has to be a 4. That's got to be an 8, and we can solve this cell now for an 8 as well. Now let's solve this red cell here, right? I promise you it'd help you solve the red cell by getting the skyscraper. You notice a 6 cuts across row 6 here. There's only 2 possibilities for a 6 in block 5. So this is a pointing pair of 6s. Whenever you have a pointing pair, you can eliminate that candidate from any cell outside of the block. So we know we can eliminate a 6 from right there. The only reason we could do that is because we solved this skyscraper leading to finish the rest of column 5 and creating this restriction. So this now has to be your 4, and that has to be your 6. If you find value in what I'm showing you here, please consider buying me a coffee or just click on the Super Thanks button in YouTube. I really appreciate it. And now we have what's called a full house here in column 2. There's only 1 candidate missing, a 3. So we know with certainty we can solve that for a 3. We finished up block 1. Let's look across. We got row 2 figured out. Awesome. And now with these 2 1s, we actually solved this cell for a 1, so we can solve this for a 1 right here. And let's do another neat naked triple trick here, right? We got a 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. Actually, with this 8, I'm not going to do the neat naked triple. I'm just going to solve for the 8 right off the bat, right? And now what we got here, 3, 4, 5. Let's do that neat naked triple trick. Okay, we got a 4 and a 5 right here, looking in this cell. And then we have the 4 repeated right there. We know we can solve all 3. That's got to be your 3. This is the only place a 4 can go, and we can solve this cell for a 5. Awesome. Now if we look here, we're missing a 3 and a 9. I got my 3. I'm going to pull it down from block 3. So that's your 3. That's going to be your 9. And now we know, well, we have 2 candidates left here. It's going to be a 5 or an 8. We can't solve the 5 or the 8, but we know this has to be whatever remaining. So that's going to be a 9. Let's look across row 7 here. You know, we got this 1, so displace the Snyder 1. We can solve this cell for a 1. That's going to help us with the 3 right here. We're missing, looks like a 5 and a 7. I got my 7. I'm going to pull it down from block 2. So that's your 7, and that's going to be your 5. Okay, you can see you have the 3 right there. With this 3, we can solve for a 3 in this block. And then what are we missing? It looks like a 6, 8, or a 9. Because of the 9 right there, we know we can solve this for the 9. Displacing that Snyder 6, we can solve this for the 8. which is going to displace that Snyder 8, solve this for the 8, and we can solve for a 5. Awesome. With these two 5s, I know I can solve this for a 5. I didn't have to look all the way at this full house. I could just use the cross-hatching. It's always going to be quicker if you can use the cross-hatching. The same thing here. I see the 8. I know this has to be an 8, and this is going to be a 9, and it's much quicker. We can remove the red cell because we did solve that. Outstanding job there. And now if we look up, we need a 2 and a 5. I got my 2 right there. Displace that Snyder 2. So we can solve for the 2 here as soon as I get out of color mode. So that's your 2, and that's your 5. Displacing the Snyder 5. So here's your 5, here's your 4, displacing the Snyder 4. So you can solve for 4, and our last digit is going to be a 6. See if you can spot the skyscraper in this next video. I know you can do it. Thank you so much for watching.